Trigger warning for the following words: employment, ooh, work, and worst of all, job. So viewer discretion is advised. Okay, first up, we've got a parking warden.
You can't park there, mate.
I see these guys walking around all the time, and I don't know if it's just like a British thing, but what these guys do is walk around and hand out this absolute nightmare fuel. Like, if you see this on your car when you wake up in the morning, just know it's over. Like, everything you've built in your entire life is just gone because you've seen this on your windscreen. Basically, what you have to do is pay a fine because you parked in the wrong spot, or you didn't pay to park in the spot you're in, something along those lines. I don't have a car, so I wouldn't know, but that's basically it. And I can't really imagine that people in the local area like their parking wardens, considering he's basically the neighborhood snitch out here handing out fines for like the most basic things. Side note, why do people have to pay to park? I always found that a little bit weird because it's not like the companies own the land, right? I'm seriously asking. I have no idea about the law. And all you have to do is go onto YouTube and search up parking warden and just take a look at this fine selection that we have. Parking warden fight, parking warden funny, and parking warden abuse. Okay, I'm not too sure about that one, but some of these are pretty funny.
Get him here. Go on, lad.
In a pedestrianised area, I'm afraid.
Fuck off out the way, you prick.
Okay.
You fucking spunk bubble.
Okay, I don't know what the hell that first guy was on. This guy's walking around like he got that one Minecraft achievement to have every potion effect at the same time. But here you can see the warden just like pops up like a new challenger in a Pokemon game. He just spawns in and is like, oh, ticket mate, you got a ticket mate. Come on, drop the act for a second. Like, if you see something goofy and random, at least acknowledge it. You know, say something, point and laugh, then give him a ticket. But amongst all of the funnies, there are some not so funnies, with some wardens actually getting attacked pretty bad, which doesn't really make sense considering most of these fines are between 110 or 160 pounds, which isn't like a crazy amount. I mean, of course it's annoying, but it's not a crazy amount, right? Anyways, take a look at this. Okay, I've got 3 questions to ask. First up, where the hell did he find that stick? Second, how the hell did he lose? Third, can I show this on YouTube? I hope so. I mean, I did find this on YouTube. I understand he's angry about getting a ticket, right? Anyone would be angry. What does he think is gonna happen after he beats up the warden? Does he think the ticket like goes away? It just like fades out of existence after he beats the warden up? Boy, what the hell is this? This is free doing on me windscreen. You having a laugh? And now you're in prison for the next 2 months. You know, that like, it doesn't really make sense when you think about, you know, I could pay £10 or I could potentially go to prison for 2 months. I also found this other video while I was editing, and I probably shouldn't be laughing at it, but this is a, you know, big naughty no-no in my books. But let's move on. Working in an oil rig. Oh my gosh. I mean, I don't know how people can like look at this and think it's safe. But anyways, let me get into the like actual reasons why. First up, let's take a look at the mission Leviathan in the game Ready or Not, where you have to go to an oil rig and, you know, kill some eco-protesters, as you do. But as soon as you load into the game and, you know, take one look around, you just see nothing. Like, it's genuinely just empty. But of course, this is a game. You know, maybe the devs didn't want to, you know, design an entire surrounding area. But it kind of does seem like the reality of some oil rigs, considering they can be anywhere from 5 miles to 250 miles away from the shore. For example, the Hibernia, we're gonna pretend I said that perfectly the first time. The Hibernia platform is about 195 miles away from oh come on, Newfoundland. That's not a real place, right? Newfoundland. How uncreative can you be? This is my rendition of what I imagine went down once they found this island. Wow, it looks like we're the only ones here. What should we name this new land that we found? That's going straight in the acting reel. But on a more serious note, that's a stupid name. When it comes to naming places, it's either a really weird name like Missouri, Wyoming, like what? Who thought of that? Or it's just like a rip of another city, like how we have York and America has New York. or it's just something like stupid, like Newfoundland. But ignore me, because I'm just ranting. So let's move on to the other reason why I wouldn't want to work on an oil rig. Rogue waves, which are these huge, like 80 feet tall waves that could literally appear out of nowhere. I feel like we need to be more concerned about this kind of stuff. 80 feet is insane. I mean, that's like putting me on top of myself 13 times, because as you guys know, I'm a very legit 6 foot, very uninsecure man. But on a more serious note, rogue waves are not a joke, and they could really do some like real damage. Like in 1982, the Ocean Ranger oil rig was hit by a wave of about 65 feet tall. That didn't make any sense, but ignore that. The oil platform was heard over the radio describing how porthole window was broken. I'll probably put a picture up, but as of this recording, I don't know what a porthole window is. Sounds like a sex position if you ask me. Allowing water to enter the ball sack room. The vessel was getting hit by waves 65 feet or higher, while the porthole window was only 28 feet. After midnight, the Ocean Ranger reported they were listing 10 to 15 degrees. By the way, listing means like tilting sideways. So the entire rig moved about 10 degrees to the side, which is insane. Because you have to consider how heavy the actual rig is. And for it to tip 10 degrees, while being hit by waves, all 84 of the crew, including 43 mobile employees and 38 contractors, were killed. Investigators found nearby vessels were not equipped to rescue casualties from sea, especially in severe weather. So most of the crew died from drowning or hypothermia. So this obviously is a terrible tragedy and a brilliant example of what rogue waves can do on like a really bad day. But this was in 1982. That's like 43 years ago, if my maths is right. And you know, maybe there weren't enough safety protocols in place. Maybe the oil rig was just like badly built because, you know, it was a long time ago. So let's take a look at the COSL Innovator rig in the North Sea, which was hit in 2015. At the end of December, a rogue wave measuring nearly 50 feet smashed into an offshore drilling rig in the North Sea, killing one worker and injuring another. So yeah, imagine being like out in the middle of nowhere and being at risk of a huge wave just appearing out of nowhere. Like that's some straight like Looney Tunes stuff. For the next job, we have to go back in time to when I was a kid, because there was this one show that I always used to watch called Can't Pay, We'll Take It Away. This is one of those shows which came on anytime between 9 to like 12 o'clock in the morning. So I would only see this show whenever like it was like the holidays or I had a cold and I stayed home. So, you know, being at home, my parents didn't want me to like be in my room playing on my Xbox, which, you know, looking back was probably a good thing. So I was banished to the living room and I was forced to watch whatever was on TV. And most of the time it was just this, Can't Pay, We'll Take It Away. So the premise of the show is that a group of bailiffs show up to somebody's house, most likely because they couldn't pay rent. So they would show up to these houses and just take anything that looked valuable and would just leave. Like they would take cars.
Their cars.
Can you pay this dress or not? I can't go with me now. I'm not going to take your cars off.
They'd go in the house and take like furniture.
Can't afford to pay the rent, but £700 telly.
Literally anything that they could sell. And keep in mind, there's an entire camera crew just recording this happening, just to like pour salt in the wound. So let's take a quick look at a clip that I found online.
I'll tell you if you're him. Are you Brian? Sorry, I'm a High Court Enforcement Agent, sir.
A what?
High Court Enforcement Agent.
What for?
What? If I know if you're Brian, I'll be able to reveal the details. Is it confirmed?
Who are you looking for, mate?
You're not him?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, guys, you probably won't believe this, but this is actually Brian. Despite his amazing acting, despite his Oscar-deserving performance, this is actually Brian. So the bailiffs go to his house, go through the door, and oh boy, this is where it all kicks off.
Come in here.
My colleague's got insurance.
What the fuck are you doing in there? Get out.
Calm down, mate.
Get out. No. Get out. No. Get out. No. Get out. Your hands off me.
Oi, stop me.
There's someone in the house.
And even though big tough Brian over here got his dad to help him in the fight, they still got bodied by the bailiffs so hard.
Get
off me. Get off me.
Stop it.
Get off me.
It's kind of hard to see, so this little push here, I'm gonna assume that's the finisher of this little like tussle. You know, this is like the Mortal Kombat finisher, but it is really hard to tell. But with that, let's move on to being a teacher. If you're in school right now, I feel like you kind of would have expected this to be here, because I mean, like, teachers in secondary school or high school or whatever go through literal hell whenever they like come to school and teach. Like, I've seen teachers cry multiple times because of the same class. Like, my English class in secondary school was atrocious. I've seen teachers straight up leave the class because they just like had enough of us. And I've actually seen a teacher get attacked by a student damn near twice its size. Okay, fine, not twice his size. He was like a foot taller. But still, attacking a teacher, no matter the height, is insane to witness. But it's not just the snotty-nosed losers that you have to deal with, because you also have to deal with the snotty parents of those kids. You also have to deal with terrible pay and crazy work hours, considering teachers don't just do work when they're at the actual like school building. You know, they go home, they make resources for lessons, they have to mark exams and all this stuff. And when I was in school, we all knew this. This was common knowledge. And still, some people saw like the diamond in the rubble and still decided they wanted to be teachers when they grew up, which blows my mind. I don't know what the hell they saw, but I wasn't seeing it, you know? I wasn't picking up what they were putting down. So just like with the last one, I found a couple of clips that we should go over.
Shut the hell up! Shut up! Shut up!
Okay, I feel like I've heard this soundbite before.
Shut up!
Maybe it's just me hitting the old Mandela effect, but I'm pretty sure I've heard that before. But anyways, whenever something like this would happen in a class that I'm in, this is my reaction. Like, this guy gets it. Me and him, we're on the same wavelength here, because whenever a teacher's crashing out or just yelling in general, that's the only way you should be reacting. Like, guys who are like stone cold Steve Austin when this stuff happens, I seriously question their sanity. Like, those are the kids that you need to watch out for. Like, those are the ones that are gonna become serial killers when they grow up. Because how can you not find this hilarious? Especially if you're in the room. Okay, I know we're only one frame into this clip, but I just have to point out, this shirt kind of looks like the Fortnite logo, right? Or is it just me? Well, okay, that was attempted murder, right? I mean, if that screen wasn't in the way, that would have been a direct hit, like he's playing battleships or something. No way, that can't be allowed, right? That has to be like an actual crime, right?
There's no hope for you. There is no hope. You get yelled at like this every block just by substitutes because you think you can walk in and pull crap on them, right? Yeah. Then get out. Stay out. Get out.
Okay, I understand that he's angry and he's like, you know, frustrated with the kid, but yelling isn't gonna work. Then again, he doesn't really look like a kid, but the point is, yelling never really works, especially when it's coming from a teacher, considering teachers are just people, you know? They're not anyone like special, like a parent or like a family member. They're just people. So when a teacher yells at a kid who's misbehaving, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't do anything. Okay, I'm gonna be completely honest, okay? Not to be a bad influence, but that was a weak ass punch. Come on, you can do way better than that. Okay, yep, I stand corrected. That was an amazing keyboard smash. Yeah, you lost me with that chair push. That was weak as hell. Brilliant keyboard smash though. So genuinely, after seeing all of that, how could someone still want to become a teacher? The only answer is like just doing it for the love of the game. Just like you have pure passion for teaching and wanting to make a change, and you know, you can put up with all of this. You've got like the mental fortitude of like every alpha male on TikTok. Finally, we've got truck drivers, which at first does seem like quite a cool job. I mean, being able to drive long distances with nothing but the radio and your thoughts is like the most therapeutic thing I can think of when you do it in Euro Truck Simulator or American Truck Simulator. See, the main reason it's therapeutic is because I'm sitting in my room with my ancient steering wheel that I used to play Gran Turismo 3 on my PS2 with, and I can just pause the game, get up and, you know, do other things. But like whenever I'm like frustrated or whenever I'm just like tired, hop on a bit of truck sim, slap on some music, and it's a vibe. But doing this in like real life seems extremely lonely and kind of sad, because you have to kind of trade your relationships for this job, because you're going to be driving across the continent or country, and when the job is over, you're still there. Like, you're still at the place where you offloaded the cargo or whatever. Like, compared to other jobs where people show up, they do the work, and then they go home to like see their family and stuff, you know, truck drivers can't do that. They literally live in their trucks, which seems quite, you know, isolating. And I guess the same could be said for forest lookout guys, and we all know how that goes. If you haven't played Fears to Fathom, by the way, amazing game. Me personally, I don't think this would be an issue, like being isolated and stuff, considering apparently truck drivers get hella prostitutes. Also, you could video call your family or whatever. That was my idea, by the way. Who mentioned prostitutes? It must have been someone else. So let's focus on another issue with this job. The fact that you can't just pull up to a truck driving place and say you want to start, because there's a crazy steep learning curve that comes with truck driving. And honestly, if I had $1 for every single time I rear-ended the car ahead of me because I couldn't stop in time because I was ripping like 70 miles an hour in a truck, and once you get to the city, like you're off the freeway or the interstate or the motorway or whatever it's called, and you get into a city, turning around and trying not to wreck everything, like lampposts, these railings on the side, other people, that's pretty important. You know, you don't want to hit other people. Like, there are so many things that you could hit with that stupid trailer of yours. And don't even get me started on reverse parking. Like, the amount of trauma, the amount of like Vietnam level PTSD I have from trying to reverse a trailer to get more XP in truck sim, just for me to crash like 50 times and lose all my money. But by far the worst thing a truck driver could experience is like traumatic events, because believe it or not, the freeway is one scary place. So viewer discretion is definitely advised for the clip I'm about to show you. Roll the tape. I know, pretty scary stuff. I mean, luckily I did react in time, and you know, nobody was injured or anything besides me. You know, I took the blow for everybody. You're welcome. So considering we're at the end of the video, I figured we'd go over a job that I would want to do, being a content creator. So subscribe, you know, that's what you're here for. So drop a sub, drop a like, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.